Welcome to Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show will have a talk about a Linux project, such as a Linux distribution, a desktop environment, or application. We also chat about news or any variety of topics from the community. Anything that is Linux tech and open source related is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, a Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project. And with me today, I've got a fantastic panel of members, panelists, whatever. Got Eris,
friends,
Vashinator, Jinda, Colin, Eric, and Brian. How is everybody?
Doing good.
Good. Wonderful. How are you?
Well, aside from a throbbing ankle from where a yellow jacket bit me today, I'm doing great.
Well, that wasn't kind. Did you somehow offend this yellow jacket, or?
Yeah, I was weed whipping, and apparently I was stepping all over their nest because they were in the ground. So, yeah, they didn't. Apparently, they didn't appreciate it.
Enlighten me. What's a yellow jacket?
It's a form of wasp. It looks like a bee, but it's not.
A wasp.
Yeah, it's like a wasp. Yeah, it's yellow and black and
right.
Kind of terrible, like a hornet.
It's the neighborhood patrol. They wear these.
The neighborhood patrol.
They came and bit him. Very strict neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, those things are mean. I had a growing up, we had this orchard, quote unquote, that was just basically untended fruit trees that the yellow jackets, the ground bees specifically, loved to nest in there. And helpfully, and you just can't see the nest because it's just a little hole in the ground, and unless you're paying attention, like, hey, there's insects flying in and out of that hole. And even worse if you're on a riding mower. And
because the riding mower
drive past them enough. And then they start yeah, right. No, definitely not fast enough. So yeah, there were several abandoned ship moments. Run away.
Yeah. Well, see, I was weed whipping, so I thought maybe I just got something flew at me and right my ankle. I'm like, so I mean, it was pretty much going to town on me for a little while because I didn't respond immediately, Anyway, so right now it hurts and it itches and my ankle is probably getting a little bit large. So.
Yeah. Oh my.
Well, good times. Well, hey, on the docket for today is not yellow jackets. That'll be the end of that discussion. But we'll be talking about a straw poll, which if you haven't done it yet, please do that straw poll. And we'll talk about for our application this week, which is kind of like an application. It's kind of like application condiment, I suppose. Extensions for our browser. And then we'll do our last call. But first, what are we doing in Linux and tech? Eric, you said you have something really short that you want to talk about. Is it short people? Robots. Small robots.
Wow. Very random. No, I was actually wondering, so I have there's a couple potential things that could be my fault here, just as a preface, but
probably
the new installer in Ubuntu. Yeah, well, there's lots of stuff that's probably my fault, but this specific instance, the new installer in Ubuntu, Subiquity, I think they called it.
Okay.
Anyway, so it's nice. It's, a cleaned up version of Ubiquity essentially. And, anyway, I needed to reinstall a Linux distro on my desktop. And so I had a copy of desktop 2304 on a USB drive, and I went to install it and the installer crashed on me. And I'm like, okay. And I tried again. I'm like, well, maybe it's just like an old copy. So I'll download, because they update the ISOs every so often.
Sure.
And so I downloaded a new copy, tried again, same thing. I'm like, what the heck? So they also have a legacy version, which still has the old Ubiquity installer on it. So I tried that and it installed, but then kept locking up on me. I'm like, what is going on? So I was having all kinds of weird Ubuntu problems, but I guess specifically my question is, have people used that installer successfully? And maybe that's why they have two different versions of the ISO available, is that some people are having problems. I just wasn't sure if anyone had seen that or not. So
I had
I haven't
not.
tried it.
no.
I have
No.
used it in a previous version of Ubuntu. Not sure what version. I think when it was like beta or something. When I think they were trying to bring it to the LTS, I think, and then it kept crashing, and there was like a lot of errors, and they pushed it back. I think I did try it then. It worked for me, and the difference is that this one's based on Flutter.
Okay.
And so they remade the whole installer, I think, and it's supposed to be easier to maintain than the other one was.
Got it.
Is this
Okay.
2310 you said you downloaded? 2310?
That doesn't exist yet. 2304.
Oh, sorry, 2304. Yeah, yeah. Have you tried the other one that's don't they have another one that's
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. They have one that is the new Flutter based, and I think they called it Subiquity or Subiquity.
right?
And so I tried it on a copy I had laying around, didn't work, and then I went and got a fresh copy, thinking, oh well, maybe they updated it on the ISO, because I've had that before where things just kind of out of date, and I don't know. And then yeah, I even tried the alternative one, which did install, but then like the installation itself was somehow bugged where it just kept locking up on me. So anyway, yeah, just Ubuntu was not, and it's so weird because I'm so used to Ubuntu just being that like completely drama-free experience where it's like, next, and and that's it. And so that's why it's such a strange thing to me, is like I've just not had it do that to me before. So I'm wondering if maybe it's probably something I did, but
bad hardware or something, like your
Yeah.
drive's dying or something.
I don't know.
Or the
I don't know.
USB stick or the program that burned the ISO.
Could be. It could be. I've noticed that Ventoy, which I really enjoy because it's just so easy to use. You just sort of dump the ISOs in the directory. But it does not work with certain distros. I think I want to say like Pop OS or some. There was one I tried recently where it refused to boot off of Ventoy.
Yeah, I've seen several like that.
Yeah. So
probably
maybe that was
Solus.
it.
I know Solus doesn't have.
It'll
be Solus. They don't have the boot structure to boot on Ventoy.
Right, that's what it was.
They use a different. I can't remember what it's called now. They use something different to everyone else.
Gotcha. Well, they have their own custom installer, and they also do system deboot, I think. So, anywho, okay. Well, that's nothing. Like I said, short, nothing exciting. Just strange that the old faithful, reliable, never goes wrong.
Is Flutter the only installer option now?
No, so they have the
Legacy.
It's Legacy. Thank you. Yeah, they call it Legacy, and that just has the old standard installer. So
did you try the Legacy installer successfully?
I got it installed, but then the system itself was unstable. So it completed, but then something wasn't right. And I'm thinking maybe it was Ventoy. So I wish there was an alternative, because it's so darn convenient to not have to burn the whole thing every time. You just copy the full file in there and like done. So, but maybe I'll do that. I'll just give it a try just to see.
Is this from daily builds, or you just is that from daily builds, or you just the 2304?
Yeah, just the standard download.
Maybe you should try a daily build, because the daily builds have a lot more things worked out in some cases.
Maybe. The other thing I wonder, I tend to stop using USB keys because they get slow over time. Yeah. And some of it's just because the USB, some of them older ones are like, these are the really cheap giveaway ones that, 2 gigs, 4 gigs. And I know they're just garbage to begin with, and they're only USB 2, that kind of thing. So I bought a pack of these, which are 16 gigs, but I've had them for probably about 4 or 5 years now. And I'm wondering if like they're just starting to get, like, how many times can you really read and write these before they kind of get goofy? I don't know.
Same with this one. This SanDisk for me was really reliable, but now it's starting to really slow down, I've noticed. And that's a 32 gig. Probably, I think 16, I've found I've had more success with a 16 gig. I think 32 gigs just too big, just to be writing, you know, one distro to. But I think I put Ventoy on that. Actually, while I was over east with my family, my brother's got a computer, and it's exactly the same as this Lenovo that I've got in the back here. And I put Peppermint on it for him, but he hasn't been using it. So I said, maybe I'll put Windows 11 back on for you, because I took an ISO with me. I couldn't burn the ISO. I used Woe USB NG, which I'd done a video on. And I was very successful in writing Windows, and it worked and everything, because I even made a video about it last year. It didn't work. It didn't work. I couldn't boot Windows at all. So I decided to do a Ventoy disk and put Windows on there, and it actually booted. But even that, it was, what was it doing? It was counting the amount of disk spaces on the disk or something. I can't remember what the error was, and I just could not install it. I said, oh, well, you're stuck with Peppermint at the moment. But for some reason, you know, you make a video about these things, and when you try it, and when you really want in real life something to be successful, it doesn't work. It's frustrating, isn't it?
And there is something that's just, sometimes it's finicky with burning. Like I have a much lower overall success rate in dealing with USB sticks than just about anything else anymore. You know, I mean, so many things are just easy and flawless. And so, yeah, it's weird. Even like I was a big fan of Etcher for a long time. And yeah, same deal. I've had where it says it was successful, and you can put this stick in and see the files, and then you go to boot and it just doesn't work. And you're like,
yep.
Okay.
True that.
To me, it seems to be a very distro specific thing, because I'll have some that will work just fine with Etcher, and then others I seem to have to use something like Fedora Media Writer. I don't know what's going on there.
Joe
It's real
Panico.
strange.
Yeah, Joe said Ventoy can be hit or miss on the same distro, but different releases at times, I've noticed. So, hi, Joe. Nice to see you.
G'day, Joe.
So usually the Ventoy dev has to go back and like do compatibility for any new distro. I think it comes out. Sometimes it doesn't. It's not compatible. But going back to the installer, I do remember. I don't remember exactly when. Like a few months ago, I tried installing the Ubuntu server, and I kept having issues. Like it wouldn't finish installing. Like this is like a 2204, the LTS, and I learned later that there was like a bad update. So now the installers, they have like updates, and you can either like allow them to update or not. And I think I kept just allowing it to update, and it wouldn't finish installing. It kept crashing. So it's possible that with the new installer, maybe they're trying to push an update to it, and maybe it's not working.
You know, I'm going to chalk it up to probably either Ventoy or USB stick. Jeremy Smith said to try NetBoot. It's a pretty interesting universal installer. I think I may have in the past. I think I've kind of tried them all, but I guess Ventoy is the like laziest one, which is why I gravitated toward it. So anyway,
it's convenient.
I've had similar experiences with Ventoy where like all of a sudden it just doesn't work for new things. And I know Eris, you just mentioned that like I guess devs have to keep on top of when things change. But like I didn't realize
any new distro that comes out, there's like a compatibility list, and people report like this new ISO came out, it's not working, and he has to like.
Yeah, I wonder like
does anybody?
Yeah, that's so.
I don't know exactly why.
Yeah,
it's so weird to me. Yeah, because if you just like DD the image file to the drive, it should just work. You know, so I don't know why additional software would have to be fixed for every release of a distro.
Even DD, I've had. I agree with you. It should, but some images just, I don't know if it's the way the ISO. I haven't mastered any ISOs myself. Not that I can remember. Maybe I did a long time ago, but and I wonder if there's just different options you can choose that, it doesn't make it compatible in some way. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but
It's odd.
it can be frustrating because it's like, it took me, I thought, I come in here, with a USB key in Ubuntu thinking 15 minutes from now, less than that, probably everything's just going to be up. I could start. And then it turned into like a 2-hour, slugfest of like, can I get this stupid thing working? Way to waste my day.
Yeah, like at some point you're just like, I don't even really care. I guess I don't really want this to boot anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. It ends up that you're doing it because you just want to get it to work, regardless of how long it takes.
Yeah.
You just want to, what is wrong with this thing? I want to know.
I will say the only way I've been able to successfully boot a Windows installer image or whatever you want to call it, an ISO, is using Ventoy. I've tried to write an ISO. This is for Windows 10 was the last time I did it. Write Windows 10 to like a USB stick, and it would always fail. So the only way I could do it is if I put it on Ventoy. So at least it's good for that.
Well, I've got these two here, these 16 gig Toshiba. They were written with WoW USB in Linux. They're very successful, and I dare not get rid of them just in case I need them, but they work really well. So, but why it didn't work on my brother's computer, maybe, I don't know. Different hardware, different USB stick, who knows? It's just mind-boggling, to be honest.
I think if you want to burn a Windows ISO, you got to use Rufus. Rufus is like a better way to burn it Windows ISO, I think.
Yeah, that's if you've got Windows.
I mean, you are trying to burn Windows, so I assume you have Windows already.
No. These were done on Linux. These two disks were burnt with WoW USB and Linux. So their Windows ISOs burnt to USB on Linux itself. So I don't know, but I didn't have any success over East when I was trying to do it there. No idea.
I used Ventoy for Windows 11. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, does it work differently when you copy it in Windows as opposed to when you copy it in Linux? I don't know. It did boot, but it was saying that come up with an error. It was saying that I can't remember what the error was. It was to do with disk space or the amount of things that it reads or something, and it reads in so many blocks or something, and it said that it wasn't correct. So I tried recopying it and all that didn't work. So it did boot, and you could, and there was another option to boot it, but it still didn't work. So I don't know. Weird. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. Hit and miss.
Well, is that what you want to talk about, Colin? Because you said you had something you wanted to share. Is it that you stole your brother's Lenovo?
No, that was that just came up randomly. That's something I was tackling while I was on holidays, but no, that was pretty much it. I don't think I had anything else to talk about, to be honest.
It's nice to have you back. It's
thank you.
It feels like the show is out of balance if you don't have at least one person from Australia.
I did upload a video last night, by the way.
Oh, did you? What was it
about?
Yeah,
just saying I'm back and what I've been up to, and
Oh, okay.
And
good.
Just what's been happening in my life and all that. So, hopefully I can upload a few more in the near future.
Well,
see how we go.
Back to the grind, huh?
Yeah, well, I did mention that I don't want it to be a chore. You know what I mean? I want it to be fun, not a chore. So I'm not going to stick to any routine. Just upload when I'm ready and when I'm enjoying and whatever I'm doing. So, sometimes it can just just become too much after time. So I did get an email from Diamond Linux, is it something? They wanted me to look at their distro because I've done a video on that before. I think it was Diamond Linux. So
Are you going to do it?
I might. Well, I'll check it out. I'm going to check out my video that I did last time and see what it was about and see what the changes are. So
Cool.
Yeah,
that'd be great. Well, I think if you do it, I've never heard of Diamond Linux. Sounds expensive.
But it lasts forever.
Oh.
No, it's like that.
Yeah.
So
That diamond plate stuff that, the metal with that pattern that they use in machine shops.
Right, so people are constantly stepping on it and wearing it out.
Right.
Okay.
So it will last forever, but it's not so expensive either.
That distro could be the wife's best friend, you know that?
Every Linux begins with Diamond Linux. No, wait.
Nice try.
Yeah.
This must be the forever distro.
Oh, yeah, the forever distro. That makes sense. I like that now. Fantastic. Well, all right.
Steve's picked up that I'm wearing new glasses. This is a good pickup, Steve.
Wow.
Well, he's always staying in your eyes, so that's probably why.
These things are multifocal, so they're reading, distance, and computer. So I've got a very narrow tunnel of vision where I can see the computer. I had to change them, had to get them to make them again because I was reading the computer like this.
So they're trifocals?
Hey,
multifocal, yeah. Trifocal if you want to call it that, yeah.
I have those. I don't think I'll ever get them again. It's kind of like jack of all trades, master of none. Like I guess the distance is fine, but the reading portion is such a tiny little bit of the bottom.
It is.
And it's like I find myself like doing these weird contortions. Yeah.
The second pair are a lot better, so I can actually do what I need to do. But you know what? I'm so fed up with putting those glasses down, putting those glasses on, putting them back down, putting them back on. It's frustrating. And not only that, you put a pair of glasses in your pocket and you lean over, they fall down, they scratch. You know, they fall out of your pocket. That's the most annoying part.
Yeah.
Well,
yep. Well, I'm glad I tried them at least, but yeah, I feel like they just don't do what I need them to do. So anyway,
I got LASIK in 2020, so I could see 2020 in 2020. As before everything went crazy, you know. And it was the best decision I ever made. Obviously, that doesn't help if you need bifocals, but I have noticed that when I go to look at something like small writing on a power supply or something, I feel like manufacturers are making it specifically difficult to see the text because it's like the contrast is terrible. So I have to turn the light really bright. I don't want to admit that I'm probably in need of readers, but I can't. It's like I have to do the, you can't really see. You're trying to look at it and you just don't know. But anyway,
I pick up packaging like that, and I think to myself, it's hard to believe I was ever able to read text that small.
Or
no, I'm with Nate. They're making it smaller, and it's just poor contrast. It's not our eyes. There's no way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
I actually have a pillow tag that's white with yellow writing, yellow letters. No black at all. It's just yellow letters on white. And I'm like, who is it reading this tag?
Yeah, they don't want anybody to read the tag. So before going any further, Prophetic, I just want to thank you for being here. It's nice to see you. Looks like you're building something in there in the background.
Yeah, we're you know how it's usually like a toy bomb exploded in my background usually. One of my kids' toys.
Yeah.
We're finally getting to building those custom shelves. So tomorrow they'll be in, and then we'll probably paint them and then put all the books in. so it won't look as much as a disaster. So it'll be like a library behind me, and then another toy bomb,
Right.
on the floor.
There's a term for that drill sergeant would use when the barracks look like a mess, but I can't use it on the stream because it's not family friendly. But we'll just say it's something grenade that went off. But
Yeah.
anyway. Well, excellent. Well, thank you for being here.
No problem. Thank you.
I have a very quick general complaint.
Please, I like complaints.
I would like to thank whoever thought it was a good idea to put the stupid heart logo in the YouTube chat.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right in the bottom corner so that you can't read
Yeah.
what someone says.
Yeah, I'm with you on this
UI
one.
work there. Fantastic. Good job, YouTube. Rant over. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, just hit the heart and make it happy. But although if you go to click on it, the heart, it actually pops up, so you get the 100 automatically, not the heart, which is, I think, stupid.
It's all stupid.
Yeah.
What's the point? Like, oh, a floating heart. Yay.
It's make me feel better. It's like when remember when Twitter used to have those live stream, like the what it was called? What are those called?
Well, Instagram has lives. Twitter had who knows? They all copy.
They basically brought it back now. But anyway, it was I liked it because it kind of reminded me of that. I would watch a specific stream on the Twitters, some 5 years ago, and it was because you could like rapidly flood the screen with whatever emojis you liked, and I thought it was fun. It was more fun than this one. This one feels a little bit like, I don't know, stale.
In
almost.
true YouTube fashion, it is like the worst possible implementation of whatever rip-off technology they're trying to shove in there.
Yeah.
Just like their smileys. Where did they get these smileys? They're squished, weird-looking, like, don't just use the normal emoticons. No, please don't do that. You come up with your own bizarrely ugly, strange. Yeah. Anyway,
Carefully, you might make the algorithm monsters angry, and they might come down and crush the stream.
Hey, buddy, it's not my stream. It's
Good
not
point.
nice. Okay, well then that was my short 30-minute
thing.
Well, technically we took care of Colin too, so there you go. We cleared the decks on that one.
We did.
Ready to move on into the meat. Well, actually, no, we got a straw poll.
That is kind of the meat of it, though, I think, right? Isn't it?
Right.
Yeah,
well,
something like that.
So Eris is back. I've been doing the straw polls in your absence, Eris.
And Eris, you do a better job. No offense, man.
I do?
Eric. Yeah.
I think Eric did a good job. He probably does
Eric
a
was
job
doing a
than I
good
do.
job too.
Eric does a good job.
Yeah.
It's just like, but Eric doesn't have quite the like the bravado as you do, Eris, when it comes to
this trouble. Okay, well, so the poll was, how many extensions do you use in your primary web browser? Because I guess people have more than one browser usually. We'll refresh one last time. So the number one answer is 3 extensions with 26%. 5 extensions comes later with 14%. 1 extension with 11%. 8 extensions with 11%. 2 extensions with 9%. 4 extensions with 9%. More than 10, 9%. 7 extensions, 6%. 0, none, 3%. 6 extensions, 3%. And nobody voted for 9, 10, or Tux Penguin.
Nobody voted for Tux Penguin. That's sad.
I'm sure he'll go vote right now.
Poor Tux Penguin. Right, yeah, someone will jump in right now. Oh, goodness. So 3 being that's interesting. It would be fascinating to know what the 3 are.
Yeah, I was
maybe
going to say,
get into
yeah,
that.
for sure.
Like, I have to think this crowd, one of them's an ad blocker, right? Unless
Probably.
their browser has it built in. Some of them do now. What else would people have?
Well, I'm gonna guess that Sean is one that voted for 8 because he said go 8ers, and then Joe Panico also said 8.
Well, I'm squarely in the over 10 crowd.
Oh wow. I thought it was
yeah.
gonna be more than 3 for most people in our group, but
Yeah.
that's conservative 3, I thought.
It's
To be
6 for
fair,
me.
Browsers have done a good job of starting to add just common features. So
Screenshot
I,
tool.
yeah, just stuff, just stuff is in there now that you would have had to have some kind of little add-on.
Screenshot tool.
So,
But why wouldn't you just use the screenshot built into like Plasma or something?
well, I will tell
Yeah.
you,
Because you're always on the
Because-
browser.
because you want to get a full page capture. So if you only use the standard screenshot tool, you're only going to get the visible portion of the page. Whereas if I send a proof to a customer, I want that whole page, and so you can say,
Oh.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, hold
dude, I've
that
been
thought.
noticing that that's on Android recently, or whatever version of Android I have or something. It's really handy.
That's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Edge browser has a default, and I use Edge for work.
yeah,
I did forget to say the replies. I did get 2
Yep.
direct replies. One of them was 5 extensions: Bitwarden, Firefox multi-account containers, Plasma integration, tree style chabs, and uBlock origin. And then somebody else said ClearURLs, Google Docs offline, the print eliminator, uBlock origin, somewhat redundant due to Vivaldi's built-in ad blocking, webmail ad blocker, enhance H2 to H264 FI, privacy badger, and BMC, all by keyword. So that's so you can navigate your browser with just Vim keys.
That's very interesting.
interesting.
So
all right.
Mail blocker seems interesting to me.
The web
It removes
webmail.
Gmail ads from the Gmail.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Check that out.
Well,
What
if you're
the-
using something like uBlock, I mean, that's already going to kind of kill that stuff. So,
Oh, it does in Gmail?
I have noticed that things have been getting around. I use Firefox primarily, but every once in a while, something seems to get past the ad blocker with uBlock Origin as of late. Has anybody had that issue?
well,
I
some
admit-
ads are the way they're embedded in the page. They're not like the code around them doesn't look like an ad. So some publishers are getting better at that.
What I mean
I
is like, for instance, YouTube has really egregious ads, and I try and turn it off because I want to make sure like the creators get some ad money, right? But sometimes it's like all of a sudden I get like 2-hour ads, like if somebody like wants to like plays their show or whatever. Has anyone had this happen to you? And then you can't skip it, and then so they make it so you cannot skip the ad. It makes me crazy, so I turn the ad blocker back on.
Wow.
I don't know if I've had one that's 2 hours that I can't skip, but I do know if I'm not actively paying attention, I'm listening to like a podcast or something, it will go into a 2-hour ad about some product.
Oh
in the
yeah,
middle of
it
the
will do that.
podcast.
It's crazy how it gives you like an hour plus ad out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But I think what's happening a lot is that the way most ad blockers work is they go through domains, right? You block a certain domain because it has ads. Well, the way YouTube serves ads is they serve them through their own servers, I think, or their own domains.
Mhm.
So you need like ad block plus or something in order to block them. If you use uBlock Origin, it's not going to block everything. And I think that might be happening more now. Maybe websites are trying to serve their own ads through their own servers so that you can't block them as easily. That would be my guess.
They did just make a change where they locked it down and made it apparently two things. One, they changed the way they're serving it, and then two, I think if they detect blockers, they're trying to do something to stop people from being able to watch.
I think there's a
I'm
pop-up.
not saying
There's a pop-up that says we have detected that you're blocking ads. Please stop doing that. Like, I think I'm not sure if it says like it's like it says terms of service or something, but it does like warn you to please stop doing that.
It is.
Something like that.
It is technically. I mean, it's very difficult to enforce, but I'm a pretty cheap person, but for some reason, a few years ago, I just said, you know, I'm going to do the premium YouTube stuff, the family account, so we all have it. And I haven't seen ads on anything in YouTube for a very long time, simply because I have that. And I also like that the creators get paid more but from my views than they do from like a normal view. I totally get, like, I remember, and actually I've seen YouTube without being logged in, and it is, it's pretty terrible. Like, honestly, I don't know how anybody does that, can sit there and watch and have mid roll ads and like all that. It's just frustrating. And but I also think that about web pages. Like when I see someone without an ad blocker browsing the web, I think, what are you doing?
Like
What's
broadcast
wrong
TV.
with you?
Dude, the
Yeah.
only thing that the YouTube ads have going for them is that they're usually something I'm tangentially interested in. Not
Okay.
always, though. Apparently, I could get solar panels.
You
I hear
can.
about that a lot.
What I guess,
Yeah, all day, every day.
I keep getting ads, but they're from Minnesota, and I don't know what's going on. That it's always Minnesota, and I don't live in
Is your
Minnesota.
VPN jumping around? Maybe.
I don't.
Your location is Minnesota, then.
Well, okay, fine.
I was watching a live thing on Plex today, streaming, and they had an ad break, and it was local companies, and it kind of blew my mind for a second. I'm like, oh, that's right, they can target me, and it's like, I've so almost never see ads ever, and so like the one was for a pool cage company, very Florida, very like hyper local ads, but I kind of thought, like, if I have to see ads, I'd rather at least see that than something that, I mean, I don't need a pool cage, but at least it's something local to me versus like, hair products or like something that I just couldn't care less about, literally.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So most of the ads I see are like cloud services and system administration tools and stuff like that, which,
sure.
well, it depends on which computer I'm on too, because I don't log into my Google account on my work computer.
Oh,
It's very targeted though for IT related things. So it's interesting, but at home
yeah.
it's a little different.
Sean was asking about whether or not people use Pi-hole. And, I did for a long time. And then it's tough to get the level right, to get the lists right. My wife was having problems because I was blocking things, or the lists were blocking things by default, that she wanted. It's not subtle enough, right? She wanted to see certain things, and I kept saying, well, and she's like, why does it keep doing this to me? And I'm like, well, I'm trying to block ads so that stuff doesn't come up. And she's like, yeah, but what good is it if I can't get to the stuff I want to get to? I'm like, it's a fair point.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to argue that. So Pi-hole is great. It's tuning it that is a serious pain in the butt. You have to, like, I found myself just constantly adding like the dumbest little exceptions. And yeah, so I ended up eventually, after probably about a year running it, I just said, forget it. I don't care anymore. So she wants to see ads and she doesn't care. I'll use an ad blocker on my browser, but if she doesn't, because I was doing it so that on an Android phone specifically, if you're using Chrome, there's no way to block ads. So if you run it through a Pi-hole, at least then it's blocking the ads from loading on the page. But she's just so used to seeing the ads, she doesn't care. And I figure, well, if I have an ad blocker on my browsers, then I don't need to do her that favor.
I end up running two Pi-holes for that one reason. The default is the one that blocks everything, and then anybody who complains and I switch them to the other one, it just blocks malware.
Okay, that's smart.
So I have a Pi-hole, and if I don't run the Pi-hole, my internet comes to like a almost crashing halt because I don't have much of a bandwidth. So all the ads and whatever garbage, whatever cruft they throw your way, just takes my internet down. Basically, it becomes almost unusable. So it's not set to. I just kind of did the default, set of blocking, so it's not too aggressive, and I don't have a bad experience. In fact, I have a better experience with Pi-hole running. So and I haven't. Also, I added a rule to block TikTok. So there's that too. and
Yeah.
and so I don't have any issues.
The statistics are really impressive. Like, and you just see how chatty some of the devices on your network are. Like my Roku, just if it just continuously wants to talk to the servers, you know.
Yeah, Windows is bad too, like that too.
Yeah. So Python, I mean, it's really worth the effort, and I shouldn't have been, but maybe I'll get back to it. And I think this is probably the same thing. Maybe I'll do one for all the devices in the house, and then one for my wife, so that she doesn't care, so it doesn't bother me.
Okay, Eric, you sound like a robot. Is your Android programming failing?
Yeah.
You sound like you're speaking through a tin can.
Yeah, it's cool though.
Yeah. Domo arigato, Mr. Obato.
I think Eric was powered by ads, and he's like downing ads. Like, we gotta shut him off. I was gonna say, when I first used Chrome, it was like, and their Chrome extensions became a thing, and I saw it kind of like starting to quickly compete with Firefox extensions.
Mm-hmm.
And I started seeing more and more. It became like a more robust ecosystem. I was like installing so many extensions, and then later on we learned that some of these extensions are extremely dangerous and hostile, where they're grabbing a lot of information. And then now it's a little more transparent. They try to be more transparent what the extensions have access to, like that ad block in the email extension from Firefox. It does have to remove an ad from your email. It does have to have access to that site. So it's kind of, I guess it's that trade-off between security and convenience when you grant some of these extensions access to your sessions.
Oh, for sure.
So there's been like free VPN or proxy extensions that people install that actually turns your browser into one of the nodes. So other people are using you as, you know.
Whoa. Because nothing can go wrong with that happening, right?
It seems perfectly legitimate.
Yeah. Someone's making some money though.
Yeah.
Is my mic any better?
You're really low now.
Now
really
it sounds
low.
like you're talking to a pillow.
So it sounds like my that or like my speakers are blown out.
But low.
I wonder if your cable went bad. I wonder if his cable went. Some people, their microphone cable goes bad and they sound like that.
So I know this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I don't ever install any extensions. Probably like 10 years ago, I installed a lot. I played with tons of them. And then eventually I realized that I basically don't use any of them ever. And I have a password manager.
Same. I don't use extensions either.
Hey, we didn't get enough votes from you then.
So I voted for one. I do use a password manager, and I only have that installed because using the website or the desktop application, both of those are just a terrible experience. It's a lot easier to.
Well, I use KeyPass XC on the system. That works well enough for me, and I have a command in KeyPass when I'm doing banking and stuff that it opens up in incognito mode. So you just double click that and it automatically opens up incognito mode. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let's get into the meat of it. So I'm curious to know, Eric. We're just going to go around the panel here. I think it might be the best way to do this. But how many extensions do you use? And I'm interested in knowing like some of them, or your number one extension you just can't live without.
So, do I sound okay now?
Yeah, you sound fantastic.
Great.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
sound brand new. Yeah.
Nothing like restarting Zoom. So I have my list here is 15. I have about 40 installed, but I disable a lot of them unless I need them. So there's stuff I do for like accessibility testing. I've got 5 different add-ons that I have for testing, just different aspects of accessibility and stuff. And I don't know that it actually affects anything by having them enabled but not active. But I just kind of feel like it gets a little messy with seeing them all. So, so I have a lot of utility stuff like that. They're situational that I will disable and leave disabled until I need them, and then turn them on. So, but the ones that I
What
use
browser is it, real quick? I'm just curious what browser you use for these.
Firefox. Yeah.
Oh.
Now some of these do cross over, and even in Chrome-based browsers, Vivaldi and Chromium, I'll still use a bunch of these. But so for privacy and security, I use Firefox Multi-Account containers, simple tab groups, cookie auto delete, Facebook container, uBlock origin, and ClearURLs. ClearURLs takes the tracking code. You know, if there's an ad or a link in an email, there's that huge tracking code that's after it. If you click it, this just strips all that off and just takes you to the core link, you know, without all that question mark crap stuff at the end of it.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, and it's just a little thing, and it doesn't really use up any memory or anything. It just checks whenever a URL is loading. The reason I use Firefox is because of the multi-account containers, tab groups, Facebook container, that sort of stuff. Because of the way that it cordons off things, and you know, the multi-account containers essentially mean that when I have created several of them, like personal work, banking, shopping, Facebook, social, entertainment, medical, and content creation. So those are, it's probably more granular than a lot of people need, but the effect of that is when I open something in personal, it's as though it's its own browser. And so if I have an email client open or so whatever website it is, they can all see each other within the confines of the personal container. So any of that sort of cross functionality, or a site logged in can stay logged in, and when I click that link, it'll automatically redirect based on the domain to the proper container. And so for me, that's really helpful because my personal, I'll use Gmail or, a mail client or something where I have an account with a personal account, and that same service, maybe I have either a different account or a work account or something. And so having a different container essentially means that I can cordon that stuff off and separate it, be logged into them, and have no sort of conflict, or they're not stepping on each other. So the other nice thing is stuff like cookie auto delete, which does exactly what it sounds like. When you can say whitelist things, save the cookies because when I log in, I want to stay logged in, that sort of thing. But for all the stuff where you just open a site to read it for, one article and then close it, the cookies that it's set just get wiped immediately instead of sticking around. That's also aware of the account containers. So you can have the cookies for the different sites. It sounds complicated, but once you set it up, it's actually really slick the way it sort of works.
Yep.
Tab groups just lets you have, instead of, I've got 50 or 60 tabs open probably, and instead of them all being on the same top bar, the groups just let you create separate groups. And I have basically a group per client, so I can get to their client sites quickly. I have a Linux one that I'm in now with all of the notes that I need and all that kind of stuff. Personal, entertainment, shopping, content creation, I've got a bunch of those. And the effect of that is that it just keeps it from getting super messy. Yeah. And then for utilities, auto tab discard, which is a way to save memory. So if you haven't used this tab for 15 minutes, it just puts it asleep. Bitwarden, CopyTabTitleUrl, which is just a really simple utility where if you right click on the page, you get an option that lets you copy either the URL of the page, the title of the page, or some combination of them, which is just super helpful for me for like doing web stuff. And so dark reader to make everything dark. enhancer for YouTube, which just adds a bunch of finite controls for YouTube for all sorts of different, just lets you basically control YouTube in a very granular fashion.
Is there a particular feature that you like on that?
Killing shorts. I like, so there's a couple things. So if I'm watching a video, this is a really cool thing it does. You know, the normal picture-in-picture where you can pop out a video?
Yes.
So it anchors one. If you go to the comments and you're watching a video and it's playing, if you scroll down to the comments, it does a little one of those picture-in-pictures at the very top. So you can scroll and look at comments and still be watching a small small representation of the video. It lets you be more granular about speed control. You can go higher than 2 or lower than, like, it basically lets you do all kinds of, really, again, granular stuff. And there's a whole huge settings thing where you can tell it how you want it to behave. It does have ad blocking as well, which I don't need and I don't use, but it just has like tons of stuff in there. LanguageTool, which is one of those grammar checkers, which is great because it tells you, hey, you forgot a comma, or you've used the I as the first letter for the last 7 sentences. So it looks kind of dumb, which is nice. It just kind of, kind of helps out with writing. Joplin Web Clipper, because I use Joplin as a note-taking, and it's like the Evernote Web Clipper. Basically, you can clip the URL, the content, that kind of stuff. And then Stylus is lets you change the CSS of the page. So you can change things like the font sizes I use it a lot for those pages where the font is too light. There's not enough contrast, and I have a really hard time reading. And I'm only going to ever set this up because it's a manual process to go in and identify which piece of the HTML structure, what class or ID you need to target, and then what CSS transformation you want to make. And it's not something you just, do for every random site. But if it's a site I read often enough where there's some just flaw that I can't stand, like the text is probably the biggest one where it's just, I can't read the text. It's too light.
I hate it when they do it that way.
Why do they use light gray text on a white background?
Supposedly, if there's a certain level of gray, that's actually better for the eyes than a deep black on a white. But they go too far in the white, because my last job, I would talk about this and highlight this problem. And it's something about you need almost like a stone gray is good. But unfortunately, these developers, these web devs, sometimes they want to be cute and fancy, and they try to make it too artistic and too light. And it just boggles my mind why they think that. Aside from the monitor, sometimes their monitor color stuff is set a different way, and what they see is not what the average person sees too. It's another layer too.
Well, they probably have the same people that write the power information on power supplies. Same group.
Yeah.
It's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Let's go with it. Let's just take it as fact.
So yeah, that's my sort of group of, and the thing I love, and so some of these, to Prophetic's point, like I can use on different browsers. Like I use Cookie AutoDelete and uBlock Origin, Dark Reader. Those ones I use. Enhancer for YouTube, like those are all ones that I use on any browser that I'm using. Dark Reader and uBlock are literally the two that, even if I'm just testing a Linux distro in a VM or something, like I'm going to install those two things so that I don't have to look at ads and I don't have to look at white pages. Mm-hmm. So those are like the two that I can't live without. And the rest of them, yeah, the account containers and the tabs and all that stuff, it sounds complicated, but honestly, once you set it up, it just makes life so much easier for me to, I have a customer call me and they say, I'm having a problem with my site. I don't even have to think about it. I just go to the tab group, I go to their entry, their site's already up, everything that I need is just there. It's not and it's because someone had said, well, what about bookmarks? And yeah, I still have bookmarks, but the act of like figuring out where it is and clicking it and opening it and getting it to open in the right place and like, it's just fiddly. And so this just is.
Question about the reading piece. I maybe missed it. Did you use something like a simple reader extension? Because that's my way to work around the gray text. I just use one of those like simple readers, and it'll just make it like a stupid HTML
right
black.
So the built-in reader for Firefox works pretty well, and it's just right there in the URL bar. So I did used to use a reader whenever it wasn't like that. So Firefox hasn't always had that reader view.
Gotcha.
So I did have something that was just, and you're right, there are some sites that they get too cute with the layout, and even if the readability is not an issue, the structure is just so annoying to try to read around.
That's true.
That popping into reader view is really
it breaks
nice.
it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good on mobile. I love having reader view on mobile for sure.
So Sean
anyway,
says,
I would love to hear what other people. Yeah, sorry.
Sure. I actually wrote down a couple to check out after show in the show notes. But Sean says web developers don't care about colors. They will put whatever color you want there. But web designers, on the other hand, is a different story. So my question for that is when did this become two different jobs? I thought that was like one and the same.
No,
it's actually becoming. It used to be separate, but these days they're more often than not the same because the power of automation and things are becoming full stack developers now are like the big rage.
Sure,
So
but it seems like when I was hand jamming HTML code in like 1997, I mean there was no web designer / developer. I was both.
A web programmer.
Right. But if you were making like a programmatic backend, that's not really like a web designer. I can write some stuff on the backend and make it crap out some HTML, but I can't make it look nice.
Okay. All right. I got you.
Yep. And so traditionally back in the day too, when everything was table based, like layout was really difficult because HTML was pretty weak in terms of layout and CSS as well. There just wasn't a lot of control. And so the way that what a designer would do is go into Photoshop, they would come up with a design, and then they would hand it to me as a developer, and I would literally have to piece it, sketch it out, like, okay, which cell goes where. I mean, it was so frustrating because then you'd get it all finicky little pieces, get it all put together so that it worked, and then go, I think we want it over here instead, and you just wanted to be like, no.
Yeah, it's like, man, you know how long it took to make that little quarter circle graphic to make that look nice, and now you want it to be a little bit wider.
Yeah. So that was the traditional separation, but they've made CSS and HTML, and there's so many libraries and frameworks, and
exactly.
It's gotten a lot easier for a non-technical person, so someone who might be better at design, to at least rough in something. Plus, a lot of the design tools they use now will spit out HTML.
Yeah.
So they can.
I know recently, just using pre-made templates, it's a lot simpler if you have just even a table of data you're displaying to make that whole page look nice and match. I don't think about it. Just
This is
and that's just it. And it depends on what your style of development is. I look at it really from a progressive enhancement component. Like the building block of something is, how does it look on the smallest screen with the worst possible rendering? Is it functional? Can you read it? Can you understand what's on the page? Great. Now from there, let's just make it a little better as the screen gets bigger or the browser gets better, whatever it is. But a lot of people don't do it that way. They do it the other way, which is let's make the full blown out, animated and videos and pop-ups and everything, and then somehow make that work on a mobile browser, maybe. It absolutely infuriates me to go to any website in 2023 and not have it render on mobile. It's inexcusable. I'm sorry.
I just use WordPress.
Yeah.
It just does what I need it to do.
Yeah, most of those themes will just, and if you're using the block editor, like all that stuff, just it works the way it's supposed to. It's built right.
I can preview it on desktop, tablet, which seems like that's kind of like desktop, and mobile. So
yeah,
it all kind of works.
But so who's using other things? Like I love like people in the chat were talking about a lot of different extensions, like who had written here. And I just love seeing what other people use.
So like you, I use Password Manager. I use Bitwarden, and then Dark Reader, Facebook Container, because sometimes I do go on to Facebook, so don't tell anybody. I use the Plasma integration because it's really awesome to be able to like have control in like the system tray to like start and stop videos. Like if I'm like, let's say I'm in my office, I'm listening to some music or whatever, and I got my earbuds in, but I don't want to just stop it, whatever. I can, like, I don't want to just take the earbuds out. I want to listen to it, continue listening to it. So I can very quickly and easily pause it right there in the system tray, which is very convenient. I have to like find the browser and stop it, whatever. And then uBlock origin. So that's what I'm running right now. Oh, and something called Tamimi. It is basically just a Firefox add-in so I can save my TiddlyWiki note taker from the browser. But that's what it does. So it's nothing crazy. But so that's all I use. And for work, I use a different password manager, which I don't like. But
and this is Firefox or
Firefox.
What else? Okay.
Yep. And then I don't use other browsers much, but my must-haves in other browsers, except for Edge, is Dark Reader. No, Dark Reader isn't Edge, but I don't have the password manager in Edge. I have a different password manager. And then and uBlock origin. I have to block some of the garbage.
So Ron Singh in chat said 6 for him on Firefox, AutoTab discard, Cisco WebEx extension, custom scroll bars, easy YouTube vid downloader, NordVPN, uBlock origin, makes for a great life in Firefox. And Sean says Facebook containers, KeePass XC browser, start page, TWT for TWP, translate web pages, uBlock origin, watch on Odyssey, YouTube high definition, ad blocker for YouTube. So some overlap there. I see a lot of love for uBlock origin.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one for you, Eric. Jeremy Smith says, can you tell my non-techie partner, Anna, listening, the benefits of browser add-ons for regular users?
So it depends on what you're trying to do. So if you hear a lot of these, they're specific to blocking ads, because I think people just get sick of intrusive ads. If most web pages were not jerks about how they serve their ads and they just had them somewhere, like cubiclenate.com is a great example of how you can put ads on the page and they're just there, and that's cool, right? Hey, there's an ad, not a big deal. But whenever it's that stupid video that's in the middle of the page, you can't stop it and it's playing and it's drawing your attention.
You don't know where it is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's a fun
that
one.
kind of stuff.
Or that man, Feed the Beast wiki. If you're looking up video game stuff and like you're trying to copy what it says and they have the ad that pops up and takes up 2/3 of the screen every time. Yeah.
And I get it. I understand. You're trying to generate revenue. It's not for free. Somebody has to pay the bill. The advertisers are doing that. I get it. But cut me a break here, man. And I will unblock. So that's the nice thing about an ad blocker is you don't have to have it on by default. You can just block the most egregious sites if you want to do it that way. I have it on, and if it's a site that either asks me nicely or it's a site that I know needs, I'm going to come back to, then I'll turn it off for that site. It's easy to do, and I'm happy to do it. But there are too many sites out there that abuse my good faith in the fact that when I come to the site, they're not going to absolutely trash me with ads. So if as a regular user, I would say that's probably the biggest one, is just blocking ads. Secondary to that, I would say everybody should have a password manager. It just makes good sense. And yes, your browser, excuse me, your browser will remember passwords. Not exactly the same thing. That's not a terrible start, but I think having a dedicated password manager that you can have on your phone, you can have, excuse me, in your browser, even maybe on your desktop. It's just good for security. Nobody can remember all their passwords if they're using separate passwords for things. And so what they end up doing is reusing the same password. And that's a bad thing, because between all of the data breaches that are happening constantly, you probably aren't even hearing about how often, anything you've signed up for that has your email, or you've reused that password over and over, it's just not worth it. Just get a password manager. It does it for you. It's easy to integrate. So yeah, those are probably the two biggest ones I can think of. And then from there, it's all just conditional. Like, what do you do when you browse? And if you're shopping, there's some really great shopping add-ons that can help you comparison shop or price, find the best price on things, see trends in pricing, like don't buy it today because for some reason on Tuesday, it's always 10% less, or, that's really what it is. It's like you find use cases for things that you end up doing that might be more difficult than they need to be if there's an add-on that will make whatever you're doing better.
You have spoken about containerized tabs in Firefox before, which I thought about trying, but I haven't really got around to trying it, which I like the idea that you can break up your Facebook and all other social media into separate tabs, and they're all contained and they don't speak to each other. Yeah. So that one sounds not too bad, but I haven't got around to trying that, but haven't really had a need for it, because most of the time I just use all those social media stuff on the phone. I don't really use it much on the computer.
Right.
So, that's another thing. Whereas my habit is phone, pretty much. Computer, I don't really log into that too much. So, yeah, but there might be other reasons you could use that besides social media. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you just break up social media or other things. I don't know.
I probably take it to a level where if someone were to see how granular it is, they would probably think it's overkill. So, you could, when you install the Firefox multi-account containers, for example, I think they probably give you 4 to 6 very general, like personal, work, banking,
right.
Stuff like that. They kind of just the major broad stroke categories. And it's not a bad idea to have your banking or financial stuff be containerized, to sort of be in its own little bubble where, other stuff can't get to it and it can't get to other stuff. And its cookies or its, whatever it's doing to authentication, all that stuff sort of just lives there, and so that's where it started for me, was the realization that, like, because I was having problems with things stepping on each other. Like there were certain sites where I have 2 or 3 different accounts, like let's say a hosting site or GoDaddy, right? If I am managing my clients' accounts and their domains in GoDaddy, let's say I have a couple different accounts that I have to get in and out of all the time. It's really annoying to have to log out and then back in to make a change for something, and then log back out and log back in.
I run into that with Microsoft Admin Center for like multiple different clients. Very frustrating. Or people who use single sign-on using Microsoft, because I don't know which one I'm logged into, and I try to go to their service and then I get logged out because I'm not logged into theirs.
Yeah.
So
right. And so in that case, what I would do is you have a container for it, and that gives you all that sort of functionality of the coordinating things off.
Like
And
you've
then I
just
would
talked me
probably
into
also,
trying it, dude. I don't even use any extensions. This is actually, you've got good ideas here.
well, and then the other thing I would try is the multi-tab stuff, simply because it's nice to have, again, I don't know, like I've seen people with literally 50 tabs open and there's the sliver of a tab.
That's
And
me.
I know you can,
Yeah, that's me.
I know there are ways to sort of search the tabs and, there's probably, but I'm also the type of person who I want to get to inbox 0 with my email. And when I see someone that has 6,000 emails in their inbox, I just want to switch, because it's just, I couldn't live that way. So this feeds into that need to be organized. So.
Yeah. So okay, actually I got two things. What tab group extension do you use for Firefox? And I guess secondly, I just wanted to say, I don't have a big issue with tabs on the computer, but on my phone, I've got 73 open right now.
Jeez.
I'm gonna check mine right now, see what I got.
Yeah, like every month or every 2 months, I don't know what it is. I go through them and I'm just like, yeah, I'm never gonna read that. Never gonna read that. Don't
45
care anymore. And then some of them, I'm like, I do still kind of want to buy that, so I'm gonna leave the tab open.
See, now
tabs are a bit more hidden. Tabs are a bit more hidden on the phone, though, aren't they? They're not as obvious as what they are on the computer. Yeah,
it's true.
Right.
Yeah,
because they don't have there's usually not a tab bar, so you don't see. Yeah.
And when you're searching something, you open another tab. You don't realize there's other tabs open, which I've been caught out with before. I think the other day I closed about 20 of them because I'm not a huge tab person, right? Like when I do my banking, like you say, separation and all that, I only open the browser just to do my banking and then I close it, right? I don't have other stuff open when I'm doing that, just banking only. So it doesn't get mixed with any other tabs or whatever, because I won't have any other tabs open. I just specifically open from KeyPassXC, double click, opens the login page. I log in, I do my banking, I shut it down. So that's my way of being secure, I suppose.
Hey, having a ritual, having a habit, sticking to it. Password managers so the reason I love Bitwarden is because it has the timed one-time password authenticator sort of built into it. I know people will complain that it's not as secure because, technically you should have a third-party app for that. And if someone were to get into your Bitwarden account, then they have your authentication as well. But listen, I'm a more pragmatic person than that. It's if they get into that account, I'm already screwed anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, so having that stuff built in, and that's my ritual, right? That's what makes it so easy for me I use a very complex long password, 2-factor authentication when I can, that is not based on a text message, because that is the dumbest way to do it. And it serves me well. It's not hard to deal with. I don't feel like it's any extra effort or complication or, but yeah, if that's your process for getting into your bank and doing your thing, awesome. Like stick with it. And that helps, Ron Singh said he has 498 tabs.
So I wonder if that's true or if he is trolling. Actually, he says hangs head in shame, so it's probably true.
Well, but he mentions auto tab discard, which is something I have.
Yeah.
And yeah, you basically it just puts tabs to sleep. So when you don't use it for 15 minutes, a tab just basically goes to sleep, unloads itself from memory, but it stays where it is. Almost like how an Android app or a phone app does, and then you go back to it and it opens back up. So
Ricky, I'm curious to know. So how many different extensions do you have in your primary browser?
Basically, right now, my primary browser right now is Vivaldi, and I only have 2 extensions mainly, and that's uBlock Origin and Privacy Badger. That's it. Other than that, I've been experimenting with this brand new Firefox-based browser called Floru. It's based out of Japan. It is privacy focused. I've been experimenting with this new browser. It just literally came out not long ago, and I am pretty impressed with it. Out of the box, they do a lot of shutting down of the telemetry that Mozilla basically gives you on a base install of it. But not just that, they, instead of the usual Firefox look, they give it a Chromium UI instead. So they make it look like Chromium. So it's Firefox, but they're making it look like Chromium. And I'm very impressed with this browser.
So when you say
What was
impressed,
the name of it? Sorry.
Pardon?
What was the name? Sorry.
The name is Floru. Floorp.
is it in Japanese?
It's made in Japan.
But can I read it?
But the browser itself is English.
Oh, okay, all right. I just want to make sure because I can't read Japanese. So what about you, Swift? I haven't heard from you on your browsers, your primary browser, if you run extensions or not. I mean, if you have the ability to use your mic, that is, or not, or just hop in whenever. Oh,
nope.
I do actually. So I use Firefox. I do have. So first of all, I have sponsor block, and I love it.
okay.
Sponsor block, you said, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. How about you, Eris? How many extensions do you run?
Usually run 4 at the most. uBlock Origin, NoScript, Privacy Badger, and I think Container Tabs.
What's Privacy Badger? This is not twice I've heard it, but I've never heard of it until before tonight.
It's made by the EFF, and I think what it does when you go from one website to a different one, the next website could tell which was the previous website you went to, so it blocks that. It hides that info from the other website.
It basically Privacy Badger. Its main goal is to block trackers.
Okay, I like that. Although I have noticed that with the Pi-hole, I don't seem to get that tracking thing, or maybe I'm just not getting as clear of a picture of my tracking, but I don't get the weird, if I go on Amazon and I look at, I don't know, tools, DeWalt tools, I don't get those ads somewhere else, or get the eBay ads in Amazon, whatever. I don't get those. So I don't know if that tracker's blocked, but okay. So Privacy Badger, that's a good one.
The comments are awesome tonight. So Sean mentioned KeePassXC, which also has time one-time password. KeePassXC also does those popover site. What are those called? I can't remember they're sort of a separate authentication window that pop up on some sites that have a different type of authentication. It's like directory authentication from the web server itself. Anyway, so KeePassXC is awesome if you take the time to actually set it up. It kind of takes a little bit of finagling, I think, compared to something like Bitwarden, but it's a very capable, and it's open source. It's a great system. And then what else did I see? Michael Whalen says, if you open 100 tabs on mobile Chrome, you get a sad face. Now, I wonder if that's actually true.
Yeah, that's true. That is definitely true. Yeah.
So I now actually want to use the Chrome browser, and I just want to on mobile just so I can see if I can see that, because I think that's a cool idea.
I used to use Firefox on mobile, and it didn't work very well. I've just not had good luck with it. Crash all the time.
No, Firefox, unfortunately, on mobile, and it's not like I have a crappy phone. It's just really slow.
Oh yeah, and I've done it both on crappy phones and good phones, so it's just not a good experience.
And why they don't? I mean, you would think Firefox, like Mozilla, of anyone, would have the best browser on a mobile device, right? I mean, why wouldn't they focus on that?
They're probably paid by Google not to.
I
Yeah,
use Firefox
good point.
almost exclusively on mobile, and I haven't noticed it any crappier than Chrome on mobile. But it could be because my phone is so crappy that I just can't tell.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's probably been 3 or 4 years since I've tried, so I don't know.
Now, I just saw the other day where Firefox was saying they're going to redo something on mobile where they'll be able to use full desktop add-ons. And that confused me a little bit because I already use uBlock and Dark Reader on Firefox mobile. So they already have add-ons. I don't know, maybe there's only certain ones that work.
Could be.
That are supported, or I was confused by that. And maybe that's why it's slow for me, is because I have add-ons running. But even just the layout, the UI, like I just find it to be clumsy. I use Vivaldi, and the reason I love Vivaldi on mobile is it has a dark mode built in, so I don't need an add-on for that. It blocks ads by default, so I don't need an add-on for that. And then the functionality of it is just such that it really is a great mobile browser for everything that I've ever wanted to do with it. So Vivaldi sort of wins that one for me by having that stuff just built in.
So since I use Firefox primarily on my desktop, I like it because that using it on the mobile, it syncs my browser history, so I can actually, and I can also like transfer tabs, like if I want to look at something on my mobile or on the desktop, you can very easily just send it, which is pretty cool. I don't know. I like that. Although,
yeah, no, I agree. Firefox Send is Firefox Send is very cool. There's a lot of good, and that's kind of what I'm complaining about. Is I think that Mozilla really could leverage. I mean, they've got a great sync feature if they're really going to enable add-ons in a meaningful way. I mean, I don't know why they couldn't be, and mobile browsing is the lion's share of browsing now. There are more hits for any given website come from a mobile device than a desktop browser or a laptop, like a full browser. So I don't know why they don't take it more seriously and compete with someone like Vivaldi or, all these other browsers. So maybe they will.
I use Firefox on mobile as well, same as Nate, because of the sync. It has really good sync.
Gotcha. Adam had mentioned that Microsoft Edge takes care of memory issues with tabs. Maybe in the background it unloads them or something. Or he could be trolling us. I don't know, because then he says it's a quality piece of software. So
I actually I'm really enjoying Microsoft Edge. So all my work stuff is Microsoft Edge now. And then because it's a Microsoft shop, I can sync my computer's browsing history together. And I like that. My the guy I work with, his name's John. He says he hates Microsoft Edge with a passion, and I'm like, it's just as bad as Chrome.
It's the same thing as Chrome. I don't know. I mean, like I can see how you dislike it, but to hate it with a passion if you use Chrome is a little strong.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's the UI stuff. Microsoft leans pretty heavy into MSN and like their new Bing chat stuff and all the Bing. Like it just kind of, it's a little obnoxious.
Yeah, I mean, I like it.
Nate, maybe he doesn't know that it's switched to Chrome at some point.
It could be, yeah. But I mean, I like
he hates the old one.
Yeah. But I like the fact that like on the side they have all my, that's because it's logged into my work Microsoft account, all my like files and things, and it's all just right there in the browser. So it's kind of a very, I don't know, it's actually, I don't want to say it's a great experience, but it's pleasant, and I like the integration. It makes life kind of, nice in a Microsofty kind of way.
Bing comes from the movie Groundhog Day. That guy, Bing. That's where that comes from.
I can't believe that Bing has survived this long. they've been dragging that thing along like an anchor for the last, what, 15 years? And they've tried so hard, so many times to get that thing going. And I think right now they're pushing really hard on the Bing chat, the AI stuff.
Yeah, they are.
So they're hoping, because ChatGPT, a lot of times you have to, like, you get so much free and then they want you to pay for it, blah, blah, blah. But because Microsoft has invested so heavily into it, OpenAI, that they have it built into Bing, to Edge, and you can only use Bing chat in Edge. And so I think they're hoping that people are like, oh, well, if I can use the Bing chat, then I'll use Edge. But Vivaldi already got around it by, you can use Bing chat and Vivaldi by, they spoofed the user agent. Oh, good old Vivaldi.
So, just interested, Nate, Microsoft Edge, that's easy to install in,
I use the
you
Flatpak.
use Tumbleweed?
Yeah, I just use the Flatpak.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it comes in Flatpak. Yeah, that's right.
So
it does.
the native packages are fine too. They're actually from Microsoft, but Microsoft actually doesn't do a real good job of packaging, apparently. So
Right.
So like it would crash on me, and I'm not sure why it would crash. I didn't investigate, but if I run the Flatpak, then it has all the codecs and all the little bits and bobs to make it all work great, and then I can do Teams meetings using Edge on Wayland,
Right.
stuff like that. So all the different little
Okay.
Wayland integrations are somehow baked into the Flatpak. So I mean, and that's fine.
Is that, but you still use Firefox as well, or
Firefox is my main
what do you
browser.
use?
So
Yeah, Edge is for work
Just
stuff,
for
is
work
it, or
stuff,
something like that?
yep,
Okay, yeah.
all work things are in Edge. So and then I'm using.
Sure.
I brought this up before, but I use this thing called Junction. So if I click on a link, I can tell it to go, and it says, well, this is something that's more for me, not for, like, even if I get it like from a work, like let's say a coworker sends me a link that is amusing, like a YouTube video or whatever, and it's more of a personal chat, not a work chat. I will actually open that in Firefox instead of Edge, because that was more of a personal thing, not a work thing. And then I can just, with Junction, I can just kick it over to whatever browser I want. Or
Right.
if it's, maybe I'm searching for something and I'm like, oh, that would be useful in, or get like an email in my like in contact in Kmail, and I'm like, well, that would be useful for work, even though this is my Cubicle Nate account. I can click on that and then send over to Edge instead of to Firefox. So actually, I use that feature a lot where I'm opening things for, I'm selecting which browser it goes to. And it's
Does that work similar to like on Android? There's certain times you'll go to open something and it'll ask you which app.
Yep.
And whether you want to always use that app. So I literally always choose just once.
Yes.
No matter how many millions of times I've chosen just once, you never know. Next year maybe I want to use the other app.
So
So that's a mobile thing, but you're saying on the desktop you get a pop-up or something?
So there's this great article on this site called cubiclenate.com.
No
Never heard
way.
Let's have a look.
Oops, I should actually send it.
Junction.
Yep. So actually, this is better. I don't know why it did that thumbnail ID. That was weird. I'll send it again. And so it's just a Flatpak, and then you can just install that, and then that becomes your default web browser. And then so when it calls up a web browser, it brings that up. And the nice thing about that too is because you don't have if I open up a link, the Teams doesn't always, like, I have Teams for Linux, which actually is really pretty handy. It's also Flatpak. What I like about it is actually it automatically, when you're in a meeting, it automatically like turns off your notifications for as long as you're in the meeting.
Neat.
Yeah, the do not disturb automatically activates. So, I mean, the Windows for Teams doesn't even do that. So I can't tell you how many times I've been in a meeting where you can see people's notifications go up during in a meeting that's running Windows, but because I'm running Linux, I don't have that problem with Teams. But anyway,
Nice.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Junction's pretty.
Yeah,
great.
this looks cool. Yeah, this looks really neat.
It's very handy.
Yeah, can you disable it and enable it so that if times you don't really want to use it, you can do that? Or
I'm sure you can. I personally won't, because I like it's just one extra click and it's not a big deal. But it's for me, being able to like shift things over to Chrome as well is also just really handy.
Yeah, that's neat. Cool. See, this is why I love these kind of shows. I always find new things.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I knocked something over. I'll have to get that later.
Neat.
Don't know if I've got a use for it, but it's pretty cool nonetheless.
So welcome, Steve.
Yeah, who's that guy?
I haven't seen him in a dog's age, which I'm not sure how long a dog's age is. Like 7 years.
I'm just an AI bot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good evening, gentlemen.
I can tell it's very glitchy already.
G'day, Steve.
How is everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's you guys that just say shut the F up.
Did you figure out what's up with the car?
No, we won't know until Monday.
Okay. Oh my.
Steve has good weather right now.
Oh
How's
yeah,
the
it's
weather?
beautiful. Yeah, it's like 61.
Yeah, it's still on the cold side.
Oh, it's nice. Got the patio door open and just windows open.
Do you know how nice it would feel to have to put on clothing instead of being like, I can't take anything else off before it becomes obscene? Like,
well, this is where Colin and Vince would be wearing toques and a jacket, and it's like
absolutely cold weather. The only advantage of cold weather, I hate the cold weather, but I have to admit that you can warm up in cold weather, but it's hard to cool down in hot weather. So that's the only advantage, right?
Yes,
yeah, Florida visited last week here. It was in the upper 90s and high humidity. It was rough, but we've been lucky. It hasn't been that bad. Only a number of days. But
yeah, I am looking forward to fall. So.
I would say it's almost been. We had like basically 1 week of summer this year here, like where it actually was hot. Otherwise, it was actually a pretty mild summer. So
lucky.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the summer to end. It was in the 90s again today.
Oh, really?
Just won't stop.
No, I think Michigan couldn't afford their heat bill again this year. So.
Oh my.
Oh,
all right. We've got 20 minutes left.
By the way, Nate, I wanted to let you and the guys know there is a new Linux YouTuber by the name of Linux for Seniors. He makes really good content for new users. You might want to watch this guy.
Okay. So
Linux for Seniors.
So this would be like right up Steve's alley.
Love you, Nate.
Oh, I know.
It's always risky when you come on, isn't it, Steve?
I got Leo making memes of me now, and Vince and Adam, and I made it. I've made it. You like me. You really like me.
It's how you know you're loved when you get some ribbings.
So what's on the agenda? What's on the agenda for next week, Nate?
So next week is an open mic night where you can bring whatever topics you would like onto the show. So if you like, for instance, let's say after listening to this, you try out some extensions. Like I've written down a couple. By written down, I mean type some notes next to it. There's this stylus that I want to check out because I don't know anything about that one. And then there's the I have issues with some websites where like the contrast is just so terrible, but Dark Reader doesn't seem to fix that, and I don't know what the hang up is there. So, because Dark Reader just basically does what Dark Reader does. But anyway, I want to check that out. And then also that ClearURLs. One of my biggest irritations is like I go to something and I want to share that link with somebody, but like the link is like 7 pages long of just all this text. And I'm like, and so you put like in a chat, whatever, and you fill the entire screen with like, oh, check this out. I'm like, that was the worst copy paste ever. Yeah. And then like eBay is notorious for this, and so is Amazon. Yep. So like I want to share a link with somebody. So the easiest way in eBay that I've been doing to share a link is if you click share it via email, then you can get a decent, nice short link. Otherwise, it's just garbage. But anyway, so
it's got a neat little UI. You can choose to turn on and off some different specific sort of categories of things. Gives you statistics, how many elements and what's been blocked, and it's easy to config. You can whitelist certain URLs, and it's just a very nice little add-on. Very well put together.
And before we get to talking about the open mic night, I did want to bring up. So Prophetic did put in the chat before he took off. The 6 extensions are Screencastify. I don't know what that is, but I'd like to check that out. Simple Reader. I think we talked about that one where it's kind of built into Firefox at this point.
Right.
Ad blocker, and then something called Taskboard, which is a Kanban board that uses Google Tasks for the back end. So that one sounds interesting. I've heard of like Kanban boards before, but I've never actually figured out how to use them effectively. So that sounds cool. I just like saying Kanban board, but I don't know. If there was one like a host your own thing that I was looking at for just a bit, and then I didn't. And then as I was like digging into it, I was thinking, well, I don't even know how to use it. Why am I going to host one? And then, I'm sure Brian's done that before. Like we go down the rabbit hole like halfway and you decide like, I'm not going to use this. I'm not sure why I even started installing this in the first place.
Yeah.
Why I burned 4 hours going through the documentation. Anyway.
So Nate, one more thing real quick on ClearURLs. They have a specific tool where you can paste a dirty URL into the top, and then you click clean URL, and then it'll give you the shortened version underneath. So
okay.
Yeah, anyway. Dude, that sounds a lot easier than like sharing Amazon links, dude. I'm always super careful about getting like the first section. I don't know. There's somewhere in that URL where it cuts off, and you can tell that it's all data about you.
It's after the first question mark. You everything after that first question mark, I think, is what it is.
It's probably a question mark. Yeah. And that it's irritating to do that.
Or is the second shortly? Sometimes if there are multiple items on an Amazon page, you go to the second question mark because actually there's a little ref equals something, and that actually is whichever specific product. I think it's something like that.
I think it's the description of the product, and then this is -dp. Backslash dp, and then backslash some code. That one code is the one you need, and everything after that you can erase.
Yeah. I always check my emails, check the links just in case that I did something wrong, just to be sure.
Copy and paste it into a new tab and see if it loads what you think it's going to load.
But this right here would actually clear up a lot of extra clicks and extra work. Just this one thing.
No thinking about it. Yeah.
Right. We don't have to did I send the lady the wrong one to order? So that's cool.
Sean in chat said, he has a topic in mind, but it may be more appropriate for a full episode. Where can I submit it? So where would Sean?
Suggestions@linuxsaloon.com is one place, or if you are in any of the chat things like Telegram, Discord, you can send them there. You can actually link, like tag myself or Eris or Eric or somebody. We're going to throw it in the show notes at a time. But yeah, no, I love suggestions, and emails are probably my favorite way to communicate because they're old. I know, I just like them. Because I can actually, long live IMAP or POP, whichever. Anyway. So yeah, anything else on browser extensions? I know, Steve, you didn't tell us what you use for browser extensions. I don't know, do Do you know what a browser is? I'm not sure.
I'm a senior, so I kind of forget. Hold on, sorry, I got something cooking in the oven. I just use YouTube ad blocker, which is YouTube has been really heavy duty on blocking me well until I turn it off lately, and then Ghostery, and then of course I got Bitwarden in there, and that's pretty much about it.
Got it. All right.
So Ghostery is another, yeah. There are 3 or 4 of those that are really, really good. Not just ad blockers, but trackers, and some other kind of garbage that, they're good at. DuckDuckGo has one. Ghostery is pretty highly regarded. Yeah.
So I don't have
Seems
threads.
like uBlock Origin seems to be one of the most common ones that most people are using, is it? uBlock Origin?
That's the one I've been using for a while now. The nice thing about uBlock Origin is you can actually add additional filtration rules. It's like for a while there,
right.
It was a few years ago.
Whitelist.
I would actually, I set up a filtration rule, so like I stopped getting all the garbage in Twitter. I don't have to have it used anymore, but like for a while there, like Twitter was just awful with just stuff it would like suggest and throw in your face. And now it doesn't do that anymore, so I don't have to actually use that filter.
So uBlock Origin comes with presets that you can click on. There's like for ads, for malware, and you can select whatever you want from the list, and then update the list so it blocks it. And you can also like specify like something like let's say you get a little pop up that asks you about those cookies that it didn't block. You can actually go in there's like a color picker like logo or icon. You click on that and then you highlight the thing, and then it makes a new rule so that next time you go on the website, it doesn't show up anymore. So that's another thing that uBlock can do.
That's cool.
You zap that element.
All right, so it's too bad Adam wasn't here because he always seems to have like these off the wall zingers. Or, I don't know if they're zingers or if
he said we're being boring old men right now. So
yeah. This is
yeah, he's dreaming. He's dreaming about a few things tonight. I believe.
The last thing I heard was Eric saying "dirty URL," and it was about, and then it was about Lemon the Pterodactyl, and then you have Guru the Digital. Now I'm going to start my day dreaming about dirty URLs. And Adam says he probably needs more sleep too.
Yeah.
So, and then it's just. The chat is hilarious.
Chat's been on fire tonight, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. With any luck, you'll dream of dirty URLs tonight.
The separate account tabs you use on Firefox, Eric, is it called multiple account tabs? Is that what it's called?
Firefox multiple account containers.
Oh, account containers. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the tab grouping add-on?
Simple tab groups.
The simple tab groups.
Yeah.
Everybody write that down.
The multi-account containers extension, it's really good if you want to put Facebook in its own little area and all these other social media groups in their own area. It's very good for organizing.
It helps for the fingerprinting stuff. I'm not going to say it's foolproof, but it's just one less. One more way I can kind of keep the continuous, surveillance at bay. I don't know. I'm probably not smart enough to really thwart the people who are getting paid a lot of money to figure out how to track me. So
yeah, I've gone to some of those fingerprinting test websites before, and back in the day, I used to be like 1 of 50,000. The most recent time I did it, told me I had a unique browser, and I was like, "Oh, this is great. It doesn't matter what I do."
Yeah,
just unique browser.
If you remember, if you've ever used the Tor browser, it opens to full screen, and it says it does that because one of the most common ways. And I'm terrible at this because I always have my browser in a weird dimension in the same corner, and so I'm probably super easy to target, but browser position and the size of it is a big factor in window and fingerprinting. So
And so I may be the odd guy here again too, but I kind of like going on to like Google Ad settings, for example, and seeing what they think they know about me. My age, my income, like what I'm interested in, all of those things. It's interesting to see. It's interesting to see how close they are on some of them. And then some of them are so oddball that it's like, where did you get that from? But
yeah, sometimes you're right. Like you were talking about ads earlier. And sometimes it is uncanny where it's like, yeah, okay, that's actually something I'm interested in. But other times they're so far off, like I'm not even remotely interested in this. So anyway.
Who mentioned they use Vivaldi on phone? Was that you, Eric? You use Vivaldi on the phone?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Does Vivaldi have sync or it doesn't have sync?
It does. Yeah, so if you use it on if you use it on the desktop, and on a phone, then you can do the same sync back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Paul in the comments, remember Paul? He says, don't forget about I don't care about cookies extension, my favorite. And this is actually a recommended extension on Firefox, and it says get rid of cookie warnings from almost all websites.
Well, so here's something that I had only recently figured out, in that the default configuration for uBlock does not enable annoyances. And annoyances include cookie pop-ups. And so if you go into uBlock and you tell it to turn on, let's see, if you go to my filters, or I'm sorry, the filter list, so it'll go to settings by default, and there's a tab at the top. Next tab is filter lists. If you go down to annoyances, you'll see that it's 0 of 16. Go in there and enable those, and then apply, and then you'll never see another cookie pop up again. And I only recently figured that out, maybe a month or two ago. So like I go to oh god, I'm blanking now. The sites that always give you suggestions on code, superuser.com, and they have like 5 or 6 different sites that come up all the time. Anyway, they have a hideous, huge, annoying cookie thing that like covers a quarter of the screen. Anyway, and so having that on, never see it. It's
nice.
Great.
That's cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, now for some quick housekeeping, since now we're definitely out of time. Next week is an open mic night. We've talked about that already. So bring your suggestions. I think email is the best, suggestions at linuxsaloon.com. That would be great. But if you have any suggestions on topics or distributions that we should try out, applications, if you have any things that you think that we should kick the tires on and take around the block, that'd be great. Or any Strawpoll ideas, although Eric seems to be full of them. I'm sure he'd like some suggestions on that too. There's also Linux Saloon calendar. I haven't put it on the new Linux Saloon site yet, so I'll get to work on that at some point. Since it is about that time, we're gonna go ahead and do a last call. So, Eric, you are part of Distro Hoppers Digest. And at last discussion, you were trying Rhino Linux for an extended period of time, or you were thinking about that. Did that go anywhere?
Yeah, I'm going to give my thoughts on that this week. We're going to record.
Okay.
So that should be out later this week or beginning of the next. And it hasn't been my favorite distro. There's some interesting ideas that they're trying to put together, but yeah, I've had some issues with the way that their sort of software comes together, and so anyway, more on that. On there. I also sat in. Looks like I'm going to be a part of Mintcast on a more ongoing basis, and then today I sat in on Linux OTC, which is another podcast with
busy boy.
I just keep getting sucked into different podcasts. So And then I do Linux Lugcast, and yeah, I've just been really getting back into talking about Linux and having fun, sharing with folks. And so there you go.
It is fun, especially when you get to do things with Linux. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Steve, you now have this new show-ish called Steve's Very Own Live, and you actually spout off on how much you hate Linux now. Is that true?
Yes, of course. No, I don't spot I hate Linux. It's just that I want to do other things, and sometimes having Linux in the title kind of not blocks that. Might make it inaccessible. What I want to do is talk more about software and other things that may not deal with Linux. Although, like the next couple weeks, I'm going to continue on talking about OBS and using it. I use it on Linux, but it's usable on all platforms. So a lot of things I will talk about are platform, agnostic, I guess would be the word. Not every plugin or that works on every system, especially like Macs, but there are quite a few out there. So it's more of a open, it's more open. I am using Linux. I am using Pop when I do this. And but I just wanted to be able to have a program that also, if I decided to go on somewhere in the middle of the week and instead of making up a title or that, I can just use my Steve's Very Own Live.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really use the Sunday Linux Coffee Clutch on Wednesday. I can maybe do like Linux Weekly Daily Wednesday, Linux Sunday Coffee Clutch on Wednesday, whatever. But yeah, so that just makes that easier too.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
Joe says Linux in the title pipigeonholes you,
Yep.
know. So
Yeah.
Like
it's not that I don't like
Linux Saloon pigeonholes us, but I'm okay
Linux.
with it.
I still love it. I love using it. But I just don't want to. I haven't had a whole lot of time to really prepare, and since I use OBS a lot, I know about it, so it makes it easier for me to talk about, and I don't have to kind of prepare, which is rough for me, at least until I retire, and then we'll see what happens there.
Right. That's understandable. And also, I just wanted to, poke at you at all about it. That was it. Because if I didn't,
doors open.
Yeah. If I didn't, then I would feel like I'm
from Chicago. I got tough shoulders, man.
You do, because there's the mafias on every corner there, right? Something like that. Al Capone. I don't know.
So thank you.
Well, cool. So 8 a.m. Central tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern.
8:15ish and
8:15. All right, I'm gonna change that in the notes then. I noticed
gives me a little extra few minutes, and then to start the starting soon scene and that, so I could kind of extend that, and I'll eventually wake up.
Right. Gives you at least one cup of coffee down the gullet before you start streaming.
Exactly.
So Linux user space, they had to take a break because of reasons, and so they're going to get into like the Silverblue history and in the next episode. So check the keep tabs on your podcast catcher for such wonderful things. I'm on a podcast called Linux Out Loud. We are now doing video podcasts, and I kind of liked it before because I didn't have to show my face. But I guess I have to show my face in that one now. So there you go.
We'll just be looking at Wendy, so don't worry.
Yeah, so I know. Just it makes the shorts more interesting that Wendy does now. So I have a website called cubiclenate.com. I just did a thing, and I can't remember what it was. But if you want to check that out, cubiclenate.com, and it actually will show the recent article that I did there, kind of in a little thingy. So go check that out. What a great plug. Linux Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network. Check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. I want to thank you all for your support, however you do it, being a part of the conversation, both the Zoom meeting and the YouTube stream, as well as for everyone watching the show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved in making the Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back into personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yas.
See you, mate. Oh, have a good
Bye.
night.
See ya. Bye.